Hiya, and welcome back to another Reading Wednesday. It's your girl, Logan. You know, I changed that. First of all, let me address some things, because I changed some stuff. My channel name was Logan Reads. I changed it to Sketchbook and Bookbooks because I thought that sounded really cute, and Logan Reads was just like not that creative, and I was like, we could do better than this. And so Sketchbook and Bookbooks is now the title of my channel, which I really think that's cute. I'm not gonna lie. I showed it, I read it by my oldest sister, and she was like, okay, so you added the word books. But to me, I'm like sketchbooks and then bookbooks. Books that are actually books, and I'm like, that's just so cute. And I like how it like, you know, sketchbooks and bookbooks. Like, it's cute to me, okay? So anyway, new channel name, sorry. If I was able to do like a poll, I would have. I have very few subscribers anyway, but I still would have asked. But I can't, because you have to have like 1,000 subscribers to even do a poll or anything. So it was just a me decision. I did it. We are now sketchbooks and bookbooks, and still doing Reading Wednesdays, okay? Reading Wednesday, so really I can do it whenever. But yeah, and then another thing I'd like to address is you've noticed the crown on my head. You have surely noticed the crown on my head, and I would just like to say that it was just for this video, but upon seeing it on camera and just wearing it, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Not gonna lie. Really love it. More than I should have, more than I should. So I might just buy more crowns and wear them for no reason. It might have no correlation with the video or the book at all, but I just like crowns at this point. I'm like, it's just jewelry. It's just jewelry. And why not wear a crown when you're already uploading videos to the internet? Why not? You know, like, I'm not gonna wear this out in public, but I can wear it in my home in a video that will live forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so why not? Why not do that? Why not be that person? I don't know. Maybe this is my best person. We have no idea. But I really do love this. I can't even feel it. It doesn't even hurt my head. My locks are protecting me. My locks are like, you know, you will feel no pain. And I know it's in there. It's rooted in there, baby. You know, I'm pretty sure I could shake it like a salt shaker and this thing wouldn't go anywhere. And I love that. And I got it for like less than $20 off Amazon. I will link it down below, actually. I will link it down below, and I will get nothing from that, but hey. Hey. Anyway, that was a long intro. Today we're going to be talking about Jo and Laurie by Margaret Stohl and Melissa de la Cruz. And this is a book that I said I might read when I first was talking about why Jo and Laurie should, you know, just didn't make sense romantically. When I was talking about Little Women in the first place. Yeah. This is a book I was like, I might read it, I might not. Well, my library had it. I checked it out to myself. I read that bad boy. And now it's time. Now it is time to talk about it while doing an illustration. Now this week, on the illustration, I decided since it's a retelling, I was like, let me draw them. I'm gonna draw Little Women, but in the 50s, okay? And that was not my original idea. It really was that just the 1800s hairstyles were not giving what they were supposed to have gave. I was like, not happy with any of the hairstyles that, you know, that were like historically accurate. I just wanted both girls to be pretty. It's a picture of like, I was just gonna draw the, you know, principal love triangle. Amy, Jo, Laurie. I was going to draw all three of them, and I wanted Amy and Jo to be, you know, pretty. And I was just not liking the hairstyles that the 1800s were giving me. And so then I went to the 50s, because the 50s, as we know, was like a very nice time period. Hairstyles especially, but dresses, hairstyles, everything. Other than the racism, of course, and the sexism, but other than that, stylistically, like if we knew nothing about the 50s and we just looked at it head on, like you'd be like, oh, that was a bomb decade, you know, like that was great, you know, like if you didn't actually know what went on during those times and you just looked at the pictures, why wouldn't you go back there? You know, that's why time travelers have to do research. But anyway, we are gonna start this book review. Let's get it good and poppin'. All right, so I already told you what Jo and Laurie is kind of about. So it takes place, she's just finished publishing part 1 of Little Women. It's now a success, right? It's a success and people want it to be concluded, which means marrying off all her sisters and stuff, and she struggles with writing that. And she's still at home in like Concord, and Laurie is like in love with her and whatever. And it's basically, you know, just getting Jo and Laurie together in this weird pseudo, I don't know, like this alternate reality kind of, you know, because obviously in real life, Louisa May Alcott never, I don't think she married anybody, so yeah. But anyway, let's start off, you know, how we always do it with the prose. Not gonna lie, it was hard for me to have any prose. I don't even know if I did. So anyway, pro number one though, book cover / design. Because the book cover, honestly, for Jo and Laurie is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. There is no lying about that. There is no beating around the bush. There is no denying that, okay? Like, I legit just can't. I can't do that. It is a gorgeous cover, okay? It's supposedly Jo holding Little Women behind her back, in a beautiful, like, you know, 1800s gown or whatever. Not a gown, but like, she's like, it's just a skirt and a shirt, but it's so pretty. It's really so beautiful, okay? But it's a cover that's like, way prettier than the story deserves to me. Okay, I'm just like, yeah, I deserve this good book. But plenty of books that are awful have beautiful covers. So, I mean, that's not anything new. But yeah, it just has a really good cover. And then my second pro, which is kind of petty, but like, I don't think it's petty, but it's like, I mean, it's true, is that this is a retelling and it doesn't change Little Women at all. Like, the original Little Women is still just, you know, the one and only story. The one and only, like, you know, actual canon events that happen with these fictional sisters, the March sisters. So everything that happens in this book, like, it doesn't impact anything, you know, that you already know and love about the story. It's just, you know, an imagination thing. And I think that's important to notice. That's important to remember when reading it. Because, Lord, oh my God. I made several TikToks about this, honestly, ranting about my reading of this, you know, suffering reading Jo and Laurie. And it kept, like, I have captions on, because that's just really, I love captions, who doesn't? Okay. I had captions on, and they kept spelling Jo as, like, Joe, and then Laurie as Lori. And I was like, honestly, that's perfect, though, because these characters are imposters. They are not the real Jo and Laurie. I refuse to believe it. They are not the real Jo and Laurie. They cannot touch them. And I feel like if they met the real Jo and Laurie from, like, the original novel, the originals, the OGs would be just disgusted and confused, you know? So, anyway. But yeah, that's all the pros I have, too. None of them really relate to the actual book itself. And the story I read. I'm like, really? I can't even say that I like the writing style. I can't say that it was, like, interesting. I can't say anything else other than that had a really good book design and cover, so hats off to whoever did that. And then the retelling does not touch Little Women at all. And this is really just, you know, fictional and imaginary. This is fan fiction that was published. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, moving on to the cons, which you already know there are a lot of. Okay? So, anyway, dreadfully slow pacing to me. Dreadfully slow. It was so slow. I've never been tortured before, but I would think that it was like the same as this reading experience, okay? Because it was just slow. It was slow and boring to the point that I had to force myself to read it at work. Otherwise, I would never read it on my own free time. And if you don't know, you don't know, because I haven't told you. I work at the library, so I sit at the desk for like 2 hours a day, and if no one's like needing me, if no one's checking out books at that time, I was reading Jo and Laurie, you know, just trying to get myself through this. It was so boring, bro. It's just Jo struggling to write. It was Jo struggling to write, which I'm like, it's not that interesting of a process, okay? In real life or otherwise, someone struggling to write is not an interesting thing, okay? So then it was just her wallowing over her feelings for Jo, which, you know, is already just so jarring to me, because I was just like, Jo with feelings for Laurie. It's so different from what we all knew. So it's just like, no, it just alienates her to me from like the actual Jo March, that Jo was like wallowing over these feelings and like, oh, he's my friend, I don't want to change that, you know. And the original Jo didn't even have a problem with that. The original Jo was like, you know, it's just Laurie, and I don't know why this kid likes me, because I ain't feeling him like that, you know. I liked her for that, so it was just whatever. But dreadfully slow pacing, first con. All right, and so moving on to con number 2. It was awful to like no romantic chemistry at all to me personally, okay? And so First, let me say that when I picked up this book, I knew I would hate it, right? I was like intent on hating this. But then, I think I'm just like such a, like an avid reader that I can't just not give a book a chance. So I was like open to the idea of them persuading me, or even, you know, like converting me to like, why would I say converting? It's not a religion, I don't know. But persuading me to be like, oh, Jo Laurie's not too bad. Jo Laurie, like, has some merit, you know, like, that's a cute ship, you know? I thought maybe they would convince me, but they did not. They actually convinced, that's a different con though, that they proved why Jo and Laurie shouldn't have ended up together. But they had no romantic chemistry to me. As I was reading their banter and everything, it just read like a sibling like banter that you would like have with your, you know, your family, your brother and sister. It read very familial to me, okay? Their relationship. And I felt like that in Little Women too. I always felt like it was like a brother and sister sort of relationship to me, okay? Maybe I should reread it again and see if I still feel that way. But especially here, like, I was just like, no, their banter did not make me be like, oh my god, just kiss already. You know, like, I wasn't like that at all. I was like, just move on, actually, because I'm still bored. I'm very bored. That it was like, it was just friendly to me. It wasn't like flirty at all. So I was just very confused and also just baffled because Stohl and Cruz couldn't even like recreate the romantic chemistry that made them love the relationship in the first place and write this book in like at all, you know? So I'm like, you wrote a whole book about a ship that didn't happen, but you couldn't recreate the chemistry that first made you fall in love with the ship. What? You know? I was just like, dang, like, did y'all fail chemistry in high school too? Because what is happening? There was no chemistry. It just didn't, I was not rooting for them. But maybe that's just maybe I'm just Amy Laurie in my bones, and I can't get rid of it, and no matter what. I don't know what the problem was. But for me, it was just no romantic chemistry, okay? And then the next con was, this seemed to prove why Jo and Laurie like weren't together and ultimately never end up together and shouldn't end up together in any universe or, you know, in any imagination. It's just really weird. They did seem to fight, and they don't push each other to do things that they needed to do still, which was like one of the main things I said that, you know, why they don't end up together in my original video, is that they don't push each other to do things that are needed. Like, Laurie was not pushing Jo to finish her book, even though that she needed to do that. You know, that was something like, for one, to provide for her family, and, you know, she has like a deal, she has a contract, she has to do that, but he wasn't pushing her to do it, and she wasn't even pushing him to finish the reading list for like Harvard or whatever. And he already got it, but you just got to do the reading, and he wasn't even doing that. And I was just like, what? You can't even push each other to do the main things that you really need to do. Like you have responsibilities, and you can't even encourage each other to do them. So I don't understand how their like relationship is successful at all or beneficial. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay. And they did fight a lot, like I said, and it seems like they just kind of brought out like this childishness in each other, like this immaturity that was bred, you know, between them. It was just really weird to me. Also, so there's like an instance in the book, okay, where Laurie takes Jo to New York, and then he gets tickets for like a Dickens reading, Charles Dickens. They like him here because it's in the olden days. I don't like Charles Dickens. I feel like he was a jerk as well. I feel like I'm like, have I read that he was a jerk, or do I just think he was a jerk? I don't know, and his writing was so boring to me. But anyway, this is not a Charles Dickens diss video. This is not, so let me get on with it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let me get on with it. But anyway, so he gets him tickets to Charles Dickens, but then he also has to go to a ball because his grandfather wants him to make an appearance there since he's not there himself. His grandfather's like abroad in like Europe or something, I don't know. So basically, and these two things are on the same night, of course. So they come up with the idea like they'll escort Jo to the readings with Dickens, and then they'll go, Meg and Laurie and Brooks will go to the ball, okay, and then come pick her up later. So Laurie and Jo, Laurie and Meg and Brooks are at the ball, right? And Laurie is like kind of looked at as her like date or whatever, or escort, I don't know, chaperone, I have no idea what to call it, because people know they're not together, but like, I want to say escort or something. But anyway, he stays there for like a little bit or whatever, but then he runs back to Jo and ditches Meg at the ball and like just goes to Jo and joins her in the Dickens reading, and she like saved his seat even though, you know, he wasn't coming. And Jo never got mad at the fact that he just left Meg at this ball, and people were legit laughing at her. Like, people were laughing at her because, oh, did you see that? Laurie left her. It was like that, you know how important it is in like that olden society, you know, like appearances and everything. He just left her at the ball for Jo, and Jo never got mad about that. And I found that so strange because Jo cares so much about her sisters, especially Meg, you know, and she would know how much Meg cares about society and stuff and like propriety and all that. So I just find it was so out of character to me that Jo let that happen and just didn't have any qualms about it. Like, he really joined her at the reading and she was like, yay! And no other thoughts were going on in her head about like, oh, Meg is at the ball with Brooks. I mean, she was left with Brooks, which is fine. So ultimately was fine, but still just the way it looked, Jo never got mad about that. And I'm just like, but Meg was embarrassed. So you didn't care, Jo didn't care that Meg was embarrassed by something Laurie did. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. I'm just like, if this was the original Jo in the novel who like would do anything for her sisters and obviously put them above Laurie, like she put them above everybody because they were her sisters, you know, that she would have said something. She's like, what are you do? She would have been like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be with Meg at the ball. Why are you here? You know, so it didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So that was so annoying for me. That really upsets me. It really makes me mad that I'm just like, you made Jo not care that Meg was embarrassed by Laurie leaving her at the ball. Okay, so these two just make stupid decisions together, and I'm supposed to root for them. Okay, cool. No, I just wanted to make sure that's what we're doing. But yeah, it's just like, no. And then so, like I said, they don't push each other, and then they make stupid decisions together. And I'm just like, what perfect pair doesn't even encourage each other to do the things they need to do? Like y'all can't even, I don't even know if they'd be able to keep a house because y'all can't do the basic things that are needed in life. I just don't know. Anyway, but moving on to my next con. They turned Laurie the simp into like Laurie the enslaved, okay? And I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't. If you go back and read Little Women, Laurie really is kind of like just the quintessential simp. He is the blueprint, you know? He's simp number one. OG simp over here. He did everything for Jo, right? And he's also kind of I hate to say it, but he's a little kind of flat compared to the other girls, of course. It makes sense. I still love Little Women, of course, but I'm just saying that, like, compared to the March sisters, like Amy, Meg, Jo, Beth, you know, he's not as fleshed out as them, you know? And I really didn't think it was possible. I really didn't think you could make him any less, you know, of his own person. But they did. They somehow managed to do that. Like, they ripped this dude's spine out of his back and just, like, crushed it to dust. I don't know what happened. It was very disturbing to me, though. He's her pet in this book, and it's really not cute to me. Maybe some people like that idea, that your, like, romantic partner is, like, would say yes to everything. He would never question you on anything. They would never, like, say no to you. They would never tell you when you're wrong. I know I don't want that, but maybe some people do. And if that's what Margaret Stohl and Melissa Cruz want, then, you know, that's why I just hate this book they wrote so much. But yeah, they literally tell us that, like, they give us, he has no personality, it seems, or reason of being outside of Jo, which is just creepy and unhealthy and disgusting, but we're not supposed to look at it like that. They literally, I'm gonna give you a quote. I got a quote to back me up. Okay, this literally made me gag upon reading. I was like, what in the world is this? Okay, Jo, made him. And now she was the thing that made him happy, made him whole, made him anything at all worth being. A shudder runs through me. I'm not faking it. That was a shudder, a genuine repulsion. Ugh, I'm still just, it's nasty, bruh. I just can't. Oh my goodness. She made him whole, made him anything at all worth being. Another person makes your life worth being. This parade has nothing but red flags. I'm sorry. What in the world? Just why? And I also just hate the idea that another person makes you whole. I hate that phrase because I'm just like, no. Are you saying I am incomplete? I am not incomplete. I am complete. Okay, that person is just a compliment to me. Okay, like we form like a new unit or whatever. But nothing is wrong with me on my own. That's just society being like just really idolizing romantic relationships to a degree that is just unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Okay, that's why you got so many like teenagers being like, oh my god, I wish I had that. Like, I'm so lonely. Oh my goodness. I'm like, no. Enjoy your free time. Enjoy your singleness. It's great. It's a great time. You ain't gotta worry. I'm already dealing with so much of like my own emotional stuff. Like, you ain't even gotta worry about nobody else's emotional things. You know, just be happy about that. Gosh, but so many people miss it because I feel like movies and TVs and books like this shove it down your throat that like, you know, you need to be completed by another person or your life is going to be so much better with like, you know, someone to love unconditionally, romantically, of course. Forget your family and your friends. That's not going to be the same, you know? It drives me crazy. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent. The point is, in this book, like, Laurie legit was just like crawling after Jo. It was miserable and disgusting and I was not feeling it. I was more just like, Laurie, baby, please get a therapist. Please get a therapist. I can't take this anymore. Legit, I just wanted him to get a therapist at this point because I was like, baby, we should have hobbies and we should have interests and we should have, you know, dreams and stuff outside of Jo. We really should. I don't care how much you love somebody. They should not be your number one. They should never be like just your number one person. And I just don't. They shouldn't be your number one priority in life. You know what I'm saying? It just don't make sense. Anyway, my next con was that somehow like Margaret Stohl and am I even saying their names? Whatever. Stohl and Cruz. They love to reach for things, yet they were also lazy at the same time, and it confused me. So, you know, like we made all these reaches that to make this work, you know, at all. They made Amy like seemingly more annoying, which I kind of get, I guess, because she's like really young in this, you know, she hasn't gone to Paris or whatever and educated herself or anything. And then they also, it's like they made Laurie uncomfortable at the idea of dating any other March, which I just find laughable. It's so funny to me because, you know, well, first let me read you another quote I have from this book, okay? And it says, next thing he knew, she would be marrying him off to Amy or some other such rot. Okay, which is so hilarious. It's so stupid. Because in the original book, you know, Little Women, Laurie, he could see himself with any of the March girls. He saw himself with a March regardless of who it was. He just wanted to be a March himself. Like, he was really in love with their family. Okay, so he would have gotten with, if it wasn't Amy, maybe Beth, Meg, it doesn't matter. He would have gotten with any one of them. He could have loved them, any one of them, like he did Amy in the end. You know what I'm saying? Or like he potentially saw himself and had no problem with the idea. So then being like, oh, you know, oh, I wouldn't date any other March. It's just Jo. It's like, that's an Elastigirl reach right there. That's a Mr. Fantastic reach. That's a big stretch right there, son. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, whatever. But yeah, so they did that. They made him, you know, repulsed at the idea of any other March, and then Amy's a little more annoying than, you know, usual. And then also they made Amy sick for some reason. They made her sick, but they didn't kill her, and I knew they wouldn't, so I was just like, what was the point? But it was apparently to acknowledge the sickness that Louisa's real sister, who Amy was based off of, would later die from in life. But I was just like, why? I don't know. It just came off without knowing that. They put that in the end, you know, without knowing that. It just seemed like a cheap ploy that you think that you can only make a Little Women story with sickness in it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, ugh, okay. But anyway, that's kind of a tangent, not at all what I was trying to say, is that, so Laurie, they changed some things and stuff, but then they were literally used lines from the latest remake, like the Little Women 2019, directed by Greta Gerwig. They were literally just using lines from the scene on the hill when he confesses his feelings to Jo. Like, legit. I was like, what? Really? That's what we're doing? After that, I kind of just lost all respect for this book. Because, like, from an author standpoint, I'm like, why would you just... I understand being a fan of something, but this is like an actual... This is a book that you published. You wrote it. Why not write another, way for him to confess? Why wouldn't you take that opportunity? Instead, you just use lines that someone else already wrote. It was just like... I really did I lost a lot of respect for them after that. And they did it again, too. It wasn't just a scene on the hill where I was like, I legit know Timothée Chalamet said these words verbatim. Like, he said these words exactly. I know he read it in the script and then he just acted it out on that hill. I know he did. And so then you wrote it out in this draft and somehow it got published. I don't know. It was ridiculous. They just do it later in several scenes, too. Like, it's not just the scene on the hill, but it's in, like, I think when Jo's confessing her love or something. I don't know. But they do it multiple times, and it was shameless. And I was just like, okay. So that's what we're doing. Alrighty. And I just did not appreciate that. I was like, nah. And then anyway, this brings us to my last con, which is Jo and Laurie, the imposters. Okay, so basically it's just they seem so far removed from the original characters to me that I really couldn't even see this as a continuation of Little Women, or like I couldn't even even if I wanted to believe that, say I am a Jo and Laurie fan, say I wanted them to be together, I couldn't even make myself believe it because they just seem so different from their original characters. I think they're also both insulting to the source material, and the true Jo March would just be disgusted with the entire idea of this book to fix her ending and manipulate her choices, I think, because it's just like, why do that? It doesn't make sense to me. Just like, you really just... I'm not so mad about it now, I don't think. I think when I first heard about the book, I was really upset with the idea of fixing a classic like this. And they were really bold about it too. Because like in one edition, the edition I had, it just said a romantic retelling on the cover. But in another, it said like the greatest love story finally told. Like as if Louisa owed that to you. Like, shut up. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Jo and Laurie just seemed, like I said, Laurie has no agency of his own, it seems, in this book, and he just, like, lives to serve Jo, and it was just really stupid. Oh my god, and I forgot. Oh, this is, like, another thing to point out how stupid they are together. So, Meg and Brooks, they do get married in this book, right? They still get married. And at the end of their wedding reception, Jo has already said, like, she would accept Laurie's proposal again, but then Laurie's like, I have to do this right. And so he gets down on one knee in Meg and Brooks' wedding reception and proposes to Jo, and everyone's happy about it. And I say absolutely not. Absolutely not, okay? Amy, first of all, would have had a heart attack because just, nah. No, you do not propose at another person's wedding. It's so freaking tacky. It's just, stop it. Don't do that. But they did that. And that just proves to me, I'm just like, y'all are stupid together. That's why you didn't end up together, because y'all are dumb. Y'all make dumb choices when you are together for some reason. I do not know. But I know if this was Amy would have slapped this man. She would have slapped him. She would have been like, nah, he's just tying his shoe. She would not have let that happen. Amy would have been appalled. Amy would have been like, nah, absolutely not. We're not ruining my sister's day. We're not doing it. You know how hard she planned this wedding, how I worked for this wedding? She would be like, we're not going to ruin it. We're not taking any focus away from the bride. Okay, but in this one they did, and I was just so done with it. And everyone was happy for them, and I'm like, such lies. Don't propose at another person's wedding. Please. Please do not. But that's what they did. Idiots. I can't. I was like, Amy never would have let this happen. Never would she have let this have happened. Disgusting. And Jo just being okay with that, just taking the attention off of Meg. It's so like, that's not Jo March, bruh. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not Josephine March. I don't know who this person is. She's a body snatcher. That's not the Jo March I know. She would not have done that to her sister. It makes no sense to me. Why am I getting so worked up over this? It is fiction. But my brain does not know and my heart does not know when I'm ready to fight to the death. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. God. Oh, stupid. Anyway, time to talk about art. After that, my rant's over. That was my review. I gave it 1 star. I guess I should read the review I wrote for it. I guess, just to I usually do that, so let's continue with that. The review I wrote for Jo and Laurie. that I did it. I'm proud of myself for reading this book, honestly. I'm like, I did that though. I did that. So anyway, my review. Now this 1 star is rightfully given, as I've read every word of this foolishly insulting novel. Spoilers ahead. Okay, where to begin? Its biggest fault to me was being painfully boring. Jo and Louisa would have struggled to read this book if one was real and the other alive. But let me give a list of its shortcomings. Number 1, no chemistry between the titular couple. 2, Laurie goes from simp to slave in this retelling. 3, Jo and Laurie are insufferably childish and petty together and prove why they are not a couple. 4, copying several lines from the 2019 remake, with an eye roll emoji, because that's really how I feel. Number 5, the characters are so far removed from the source material, it's hard to see it as anything but fan fiction. Okay, so, and then I just addressed these like later on. So number 1, I can't believe the author shipped Jo and Laurie enough to write a whole retelling, but failed to capture even an ounce of romantic chemistry that led to the shipping in the first place. Though to be fair, I've always seen Jo and Laurie's banter and behavior as familial and sibling-like in nature, and found it no different here. Though, through all their conversation and teasing, I never once wanted them to kiss, despite wanting to give this a chance. Number 2, I truly didn't think Laurie could be more of a simp, but they really removed his spine in this one. He was like a robot only programmed to love Jo, and it was really sad. For proof of this, let me curse your eyes with a quote from from page 157. I'm not going to read that again. I won't. I'll put it up, but I won't read it again. Those words will not leave my mouth. Anyway, disgusting. Literally made me gag upon reading that, because how is that romantic and not just disturbing and unhealthy? Anything at all worth being? So Laurie just don't like life outside Jo? Shaking my head, please seek therapy. Anyway, so number 3. So Jo refuses him and they both pout over it and each other. Laurie gets engaged to Lady Harriet, and is delighted out of sheer pettiness when Jo seems upset. He wants her to be upset because she refused him. It's so gross and small it makes me hate him. Also, when they get together, Jo already accepts his proposal, and then he decides to do it the right way, which somehow means proposing in front of everyone at Meg's wedding reception. I don't care that they're sisters. It's so tasteless and rude, and speaks to how stupid the two of them are together. Amy would have slapped him had he tried it. And 4, they copied lines from the scene on the hill when Laurie confesses, and I'm just speechless at the author's audacity. I really don't know why they did this. They do it again later on as well in different scenes, and I guess they are fans first, writers second. Number 5, they had to rewrite several things to make this possible, and I don't think it comes out believable. They make Laurie never get over Jo as he did in Mere Days and Little Women. They also erase the fact he was in love with the Marches and could see himself with any one of the sisters romantically. The fact of Jo wanting Laurie at all and changing her mind about him is such a drastic change. She calls herself foolish for running away from her feelings, and it feels like a slap in the face of the real Jo, who did no such thing and is still being punished for confessing the lack of said feelings for her childhood friend. And lastly, let me address the author's note about their historical research. They make Amy sick to mirror what happens in May Alcott in real life, and mention Jo's consideration of suicide to acknowledge Louisa's. The former just seems unnecessary and cheap without the explanation, like they felt like every Little Women story needs to have a sickness. The latter just comes out of nowhere, considering they very briefly touch on Jo's sadness regarding Beth's death, if at all. It really made me scratch my head. I think this novel is just embarrassing and doesn't even deserve to exist in the same world as Little Women. I wouldn't even say good effort, and will now read some better written Amy Laurie fanfiction to help scrub this failure from my brain. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that suicide thing, but yeah, like they legit just throw it in there, which is so weird because like Jo's sadness over Beth's death was not a huge theme in the book. Like they don't talk about it a lot. If they had talked about it a lot, then I would have been like, oh, you know, oh, she did consider suicide. Oh wow, okay. But it literally came out of nowhere. It was so strange. I was like, what? Why? But anyway, yeah, so that's my review, and moving on to talking about my little illustration. So I drew them like having a little, like just sunbathing, I guess. It was like a picnic, you know, on a blanket, on a hill, whatever. And they're in the 50s, of course. I gave Jo short hair because, honestly, I just think she would look really nice with short hair. I always felt like she should have short hair, so... Not that she should, but I just felt like if she was in modern times that she would have short hair and she'd really like it. So, yeah. And then I picked out these... I like her outfit a lot, too. I actually found it from, like a I was on Pinterest. I do a lot of things on Pinterest, actually, when I do references for books, for my drawings and stuff. And one of them was like in a magazine from the 50s, this little outfit. I'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, so I took inspiration from that and I put Jo in that. And then I kind of looked at Audrey Hepburn's hairstyle for her little short haircut. And then I looked at several references for like Amy's hair, but Amy's hair is pretty more common, like the Liberty, I think it's Liberty rolls, is that what it's called? I don't know. And then just like really curled hair at the bottom, like rolled hair. It's really silky and smooth, whatever. And then I looked at James Dean for Timothy, for Laurie's hair. And Timothy, I used Timothy as a reference too, pretty much, because I kind of like for the shape of his jaw and his nose, I use Timothy. But yeah, James Dean for the shape of Laurie's hair. And I kind of did like, I think Amy's outfit's pretty simple. I love painting plaid. I'm not gonna lie, I love painting plaid. I love how it looks, and I love her skirt so freaking much. I love how it turned out. It looks really texturized. I feel like I feel like you can really tell what fabric it is, like it's wool or something. I don't know, but I really love that. I really loved painting that too. And yeah, and painting the blanket was fun as well. Not as fun because I was like all the obstacles with them already being on it and stuff. But yeah, I really loved it. I also kind of with the skin tones. I am struggling. I don't know if you know, but I struggle with color mixing and using gouache. Like it's like, I think because also I'm like really frugal, or like I'm just a cheapskate and I don't want to use so much paint, but I have to like lighten colors, and it's really upsetting to me. I just hate using so much white to lighten things, and then but I really suck at color mixing. I really do. I'm not good at it. I think my technique with painting is fine, like getting details and stuff kind of, but color mixing, your girl is not that great. I really need to take a class or something. But anyway, I made Jo kind of more paler than them because I feel like she'd be inside a lot, sometimes like reading books. I don't know. I feel like she wouldn't have as much sun as them. Yeah, and I try to make Amy pretty fair-skinned. I think Jo's tone, though, like her skin tone kind of came out reminiscent of Doug, where like, you know, people were purple and blue and all green and stuff. So I kind of like it, though. I'm not gonna lie. I really like her. I really like how Jo turns out, and I just like this imagination of them in you know, the 50s. So this is a nice I like this illustration for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm proud of this one. It's cute to me. I like it. But yeah, so that's all I have for you. Thank you for joining me on this Reading Wednesday, listening to me rant about, I think it was a pretty organized rant though, of Jo and Laurie. If you like Jo and Laurie, you know, feel free to read this book and maybe you'll like it. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't really care. I know it seems like I really care. Like, you can't ship Jo and Laurie, but I don't. You know, do what you want to do. But thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day, you know, or night. I don't know when you're watching this. But, you know, go read a book. Have some thoughts. I'll see you later, hopefully. Bye.